The door slammed shut. I dropped my keys on the table and sat on the floor. My hands were shaking. I did not cry, but my chest hurt. My name is Katie. I am 30 years old. I live in Fort Worth, Texas. I have a husband. His name is Brian. He says he loves me every day. But the truth is, I feel nothing. Not hate, not love. Just nothing. It was hot outside that day. I walked fast from the store. I had 2 heavy bags in my hands. The sun was strong, and sweat ran down my back. I wanted to go home and rest. But when I opened the door, Brian was standing in the kitchen. He looked angry. "Where were you?" he asked. I said, "I was at the store. We needed milk and bread." He looked at the bags. "You took too long," he said. His voice was cold. I looked at him and felt nothing. No fear. No sadness. Just emptiness. The line was long, I said. I walked past him and went to our bedroom. We have been married for 3 years. Brian tells his friends that I am the best wife. He tells his parents that I take care of everything. But he does not see the truth. I do not feel close to him. I do not feel warm inside when he hugs me. When he says, "I love you," I only say it back because I should, not because I feel it. Before we got married, things were easy. Brian worked at a car shop. I worked at a small office. We met through a friend. He called me pretty. He gave me small gifts. I smiled and said thank you. He asked me to go out. I said yes. We had dinner. We talked. He laughed a lot. I listened more than I spoke. He told me, "You are quiet, but I like that." I did not feel excited, but I thought, he is nice. Maybe this is how love starts. After 6 months, he asked me to be his girlfriend. I said yes. He called me every day. He asked, "Did you eat?" Or "How was your day?" He brought flowers. I smiled. My heart never raced. My hands never shook. But I said to myself, it will come later. After 1 year, he gave me a ring. He said, "You are my life." I smiled and said yes. I thought I should feel happy. I told myself, maybe I just need time. My sister said, "He is kind. You are lucky." I believed her. The wedding was small. We had it at a local hall. His mother cried. My father smiled. I wore a white dress. Brian held my hand. I felt like I was watching someone else. My mind said, "You are married now." But my heart was quiet. It did not speak. Life after marriage was not bad. Brian worked hard. He paid the bills. He cooked dinner some nights. He asked if I needed help. When I got sick, he made soup. He put a blanket on me. He kissed my forehead. But each time he touched me, I felt cold. not because he was cruel, but because I could not feel what he felt. He always said, "I love you." I always said, "I love you too." But my mouth said it, not my heart. One night, we sat on the couch. He put his arm around me. I sat still. He looked at me. "Why are you so quiet?" he asked. I said, "I am just tired." But I was not tired. I was lost. At work, I spoke more. I helped people at the front desk. I answered calls. My coworker Jenny said, "You always look calm." I smiled. I did not tell her that I felt nothing inside. Not sad, not angry, just nothing. One Sunday, Brian and I went to the park. It was sunny. Kids were running. A family next to us laughed loud. Brian looked at them and said, "One day, we will have kids too." I just looked at the trees. I could not speak. He turned to me. "You want kids, right?" I said, "Yes," but I was not sure. How could I raise a child in a house with no love? That night he made pasta. He said, "It's your favorite." I ate in silence. After dinner, I washed the dishes. He dried them. "Are you okay?" he asked. I said, "Yes." But I knew something had to change. I could not go on like this. The next evening, he brought home flowers. Yellow ones, my favorite. He smiled and said, "I saw these and thought of you." I looked at the flowers. I thanked him. I put them in water. I watched them sit on the table. They looked pretty, but I felt nothing. Later that night, I sat in bed. Brian came in and sat beside me. He took my hand. "Katie," he said, "do you still love me?" I looked at his face. He looked tired. His eyes were kind. I wanted to lie, but I could not. I said, "I don't know." He pulled his hand back. "What do you mean?" he asked. I looked down. "I don't feel the same," I said. "I try, but I feel empty." He stood up. "Is there someone else?" I shook my head. "No, it's not that. I just never felt it. Not the way you do." He left the room. I heard him go downstairs. The house was quiet. I sat on the bed. My hands were cold, but I did not cry. The next morning, he did not speak. He got ready for work. He took his keys and walked out. The door closed slowly behind him. I stood in the kitchen and looked at my coffee. I did not drink it. That day, I sat in the living room for a long time. I thought about my life. I thought about Brian. He did everything right. He was a good man. But I was not the right person for him. I was a wall. He gave love, but I could not return it. I knew I had to tell him more. I knew I had to be honest. even if it hurt him, even if it made things worse. Because love is not just care. Love is not just doing things. Love is a feeling. And I didn't feel it. Not now. Not ever. I am sharing my story, hoping they reach someone. Are you there? Are you listening? Just knowing you're here means everything. Brian came home late that evening. I was sitting on the couch. The TV was on, but I was not watching it. I was thinking about what I should say. I heard the door open. He walked in and put his bag down. He looked at me, but he did not speak. He walked into the kitchen. I stood up and followed him. "Can we talk?" I asked. He looked at me and gave a small nod. I sat at the table. He sat across from me. His eyes looked tired. His face was serious. "I want to be honest," I said. My voice was soft. "I don't think I ever loved you the way you love me." Brian looked down. He did not speak. I waited. Then I said, "You are a good man. You have been kind. You have done everything right. But my heart does not feel close to you." He looked up. "So all these years, it was fake?" he asked. His voice was shaking. "No," I said. "It was real in a way. I cared about you. I still do. But not as a wife should. Not the way you need." He stood up and walked to the sink. He did not say a word. He stood there for a long time. Then he turned and said, "Why did you marry me?" I looked at my hands. "I thought love would come later," I said. "I thought if I tried hard, I would feel it one day." "But you didn't," he said. I shook my head. "No, I'm sorry." He walked past me and went upstairs. I sat alone in the kitchen. I heard his footsteps. Then I heard the door close. The next few days were quiet. We lived in the same house, but we did not speak much. We ate in silence. We did not sit on the same couch. We slept in the same bed, but we did not touch. It felt strange. It felt cold. But also, it felt honest. At work, I felt heavy. Jenny looked at me and said, "Are you okay?" I said, "Just a hard week." But the truth was bigger than that. I did not tell her. I did not tell anyone. I needed to think. One night I came home and found Brian in the backyard. He was sitting in a chair. The sky was orange and pink. He looked at the trees. I walked outside. "Can I sit?" I asked. He nodded. I sat next to him. For a moment we just looked at the sky. "I don't hate you," he said. "I know," I said. "I just don't understand." I looked at him. "I don't fully understand either," I said. "Maybe something is wrong with me." "No," he said. "You're not broken. You're just not in love." That night, he slept on the couch again. I lay in bed and looked at the ceiling. I remembered our wedding. I remembered his smile. I remembered how I smiled too, even though I felt nothing. I thought, why did I do it? The answer was simple. I was scared to be alone. The next morning, I made breakfast, toast and eggs. Brian came into the kitchen. "Thanks," he said. We sat and ate. After a few minutes, he said, "What do we do now?" I looked at him. "I don't know," I said. "Do you want to leave?" he asked. I said, "I don't want to lie anymore." He nodded. Later that day, we sat down again. We talked for a long time. He asked many questions. I answered all of them. I told him the truth. I told him that I tried to feel something. I told him I waited, but nothing came. "You are a good man," I said. "You deserve someone who truly loves you." Brian was quiet. He looked hurt, but he also looked calm. "I wish I knew earlier," he said. "Me too," I said. "I didn't want to hurt you." We agreed to take some space. Brian packed a small bag. He said he would stay at his friend's place for a few days. Before he left, he looked at me and said, "I still love you, Katie." I looked at him and said, "I know. I'm sorry I don't feel the same." When the door closed, the house felt bigger. It felt quiet. I sat on the floor and looked around. It was our house, but it did not feel like home. Not anymore. That week, I went to work and came home alone. I cooked for one. I watched TV by myself. I slept alone. I felt sad, but not for the reason people think. I was not sad because Brian left. I was sad because I wasted so much time. I gave him a part of my life when I had nothing true to give. One day my sister called. "How's everything?" she asked. I said, "We're taking a break." She was quiet. Then she asked, "Is it serious?" I said, "Yes." She said, "I thought you two were happy." I said, "We looked happy, but I was never really in it." That weekend, I walked to the park near my house. I saw couples walking. Some held hands. Some laughed. I sat on a bench and watched them. I thought, is this what I want? I didn't know, but I knew I didn't want a life that felt fake. On Sunday, Brian came back to get more clothes. I opened the door. He looked tired. "Hi," I said. "Hi," he said. He walked in and went upstairs. I sat on the couch. He came down with a bag. He stood near the door and looked at me. "I still care about you," he said. "I know," I said. "But I want you to be with someone who feels the same." He gave a small smile. "Maybe one day we can be friends." "Maybe," I said. "But now we need time." He walked out the door. I closed it behind him. I stood still for a moment. Then I sat on the floor. I did not cry. I just sat there. I felt quiet. But this time, it was not the same kind of quiet. It was the start of something new. Maybe pain. Maybe peace. But it was real. 1 month passed. Brian was still staying at his friend's house. We did not talk much. He sent 1 or 2 texts to check if I was okay. I replied, "I'm fine." That was all. I did not know how to say more. I was not angry at him. I was just tired. Tired of pretending. Tired of feeling empty. The house was quiet. I went to work, came home, made dinner, and went to sleep. Every day was the same. But I felt lighter. I did not have to lie anymore. I did not have to act like I was happy. I did not have to say, "I love you," when I didn't mean it. One Saturday, I was cleaning the kitchen. I found an old photo of us from our wedding day. Brian was smiling. I was smiling too, but now I saw something different. My smile was small. My eyes looked far away. I held the photo in my hand for a long time. Then I put it in a box. I did not want to throw it away, but I did not want to see it every day either. Later that day, I walked to the park. The sky was blue. Children were playing. I sat on the same bench as before. An old woman sat next to me. She smiled and said, "Nice day, isn't it?" I said, "Yes, it is." We talked for a few minutes. She said her husband passed away last year. They were married for 40 years. "He was my best friend," she said. I smiled and said, "That's special." She looked at me and said, "Are you okay, dear?" I said, "I'm just thinking about my life." She nodded and said, "Sometimes we must make hard choices to find peace." That night, I wrote a message to Brian. I said, "Can we talk?" He replied, "Yes. I'll come tomorrow." The next evening, he came to the house. I made tea. We sat at the table, just like before. He looked at me and said, "You look better." I said, "I feel more calm now." He nodded. I said, "I think we both know this marriage is not working." He looked down and said, "Yes, I know." I said, "You deserve someone who feels deep love for you. I cannot give you that." He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "I still care about you, but I don't want to be with someone who feels nothing for me." I felt a small pain in my chest, but it was not because I loved him. It was because I knew he did not do anything wrong. He tried. He gave everything. I just could not give it back. We agreed to end the marriage. There was no fight, no shouting, no tears, just truth. I said, "I hope you find someone who makes you feel special." He said, "I hope you find peace." He gave me a soft smile. Then he left. After that, I started to feel more free. I could breathe. I started to walk more. I started reading again. I watched movies that I liked. I didn't have to pretend. I didn't have to act like a wife. One day, Jenny at work asked if I wanted to go out for coffee. I said yes. We sat at a small cafe. She talked about her boyfriend. She asked me, "Do you miss being married?" I said, "No. I miss the idea of love, but not the life I had." Weeks passed. Brian and I signed the papers. We were no longer husband and wife. I changed the name on the mailbox. I moved his things into boxes. I cleaned the house. I painted one wall in the living room. I wanted something new, something different. I didn't tell many people what happened. Some friends asked, "Why did you leave?" I said, "Because I was not honest with myself. I never really loved him." Most people did not understand, but I didn't need them to. One evening, I looked at myself in the mirror. My face looked the same, but I felt different. I was not a wife anymore. I was just Katie. I smiled, not because someone gave me flowers or made me dinner or said kind words. I smiled because I was honest. I was free. I learned something important. Love is not about trying hard every day to feel something. Love is not about saying "I love you" when you don't mean it. Love is not about staying just because someone else loves you. Love must be real. It must come from the heart. I do not hate Brian. I never will. He was good to me, but he is not the one for me, and I am not the one for him. Now, I wake up and feel light. I drink my coffee and watch the sky. I go to work and feel calm. I walk alone, but I don't feel lonely. I don't know what will happen next. I don't know if I will find love one day, but I know this: I will not lie to myself again. And maybe that is the first step to real love, learning to be true to your own heart.